Hi, good day. My name is William T. Dongo. I'm here again today to give you a lecture on the lesson number 3 on the climate control refrigeration technology, a series of fundamentals of air conditioning and refrigeration. And we will be talking about the lesson number 3. The topic of the lesson number 3 is piping specification and installation. I will be talking about the purpose of the piping system, type of tubing and piping, the tubing operation, the method of joining the tubing, soldering, bracing, and then bracing equipment. Number 1, the purpose. The purpose is to connect the various components together and help to form a sealed system. The application of these parts, the piping, will be used for fuel lines, water lines, gas lines, refrigeration lines. Okay, and then we're gonna talk about tubing. Okay, the type of tubing are usually referred to as thin-walled material, joined together by means other than threads cut into the tube wall. Measurement in terms of outside diameter, that's mean OD. Piping system is a term applied to thick pipe wall material. We got in there we call black iron and then the galvanized steel. Threads can be cut into wall and are joined by fittings. This black iron and galvanized steel can be joined by fittings. Okay, can also be welded. Measured in terms of the inside diameter. Copper tubings. Okay, the type of tubings and pipings. Copper tubing. Copper tubing are used in refrigeration system and water systems. When used in refrigeration system, it may be annealed copper. Annealing is a process to soften copper by heating, bending, then cooling. Done at the factory during the manufacturing stage. Process used to fabricate an evaporator and condenser coil. Tubing used in refrigeration and air cooling system are known as ACR tubing. ACR means air conditioning refrigeration tubing. ACR has been specially manufactured for this purpose. Pressure with nitrogen to keep it clean and dry until it is used. ACR tubing has plugs or on its end. Replace plug after cutting a length of tubing. Okay, we got the copper tubing type of copper tubing. We got soft rolled. Tubing is very flexible, easier to bend and form. Available in 1/8 to 1 5/8 outside diameter. Sold in coils of 25 feet, 50 feet, and 100 feet length. Coils are dehydrated at the factory and the ends are capped. May be soldered or used with player fittings. Must use good supports. Most commonly used sizes are 3/16 and a 3/4 outside diameter. Types of copper tubing. we got a hard drone. That's the second one. Hard drone used in commercial refrigeration and air conditioning system. Hard and rigid, unlike soft drone, comes in a straight length. Okay? Porous fittings should be used. Not a good idea to bend. Remember that. Not a good idea to bend this hard drone tubing. Because of the rigid construction, fewer support are needed, particularly in large dimension. They come in sizes. Sizes range from 1/4 of an inch to over 6 inches outside diameter. Come in a standard 20-foot length. Dehydrated, charged with nitrogen, and plugged at its end. Most commonly used in 7/8 outside diameter and larger. Classification of covered tubing. The classification, we got type K, heavy wall, air conditioning refrigeration approved. Use where corrosion may be a problem. May be a problem on the where use where corrosion. Repeat myself. Use where corrosion may be provided. Where may be a problem. Type L. It's a medium wall. Most commonly used in HVAC, ACR approved, air conditioning, refrigeration approved. Okay? And then we got the type M. Type M are thin wall. Not normally used in HVAC as pressure lines. May be used for drain or water lines. Does not meet air conditioning refrigeration approval. Type DMB, that's drain, waste, and vent. Slightly thinner wall than type M copper. Not used for HVAC equipment. And then the next one we got, the material we have is a stainless steel tubing and black iron pipe. Used on gas piping. That's used for gas piping. When you work on the heater on the house, then you will use this type of material when you work on the gas system. Used on systems containing ammonia. That is, ammonia is R717. Okay. Aluminum tubing. Aluminum tubing used for pilot gas on furnaces, water heaters, etc. Now, we talk about stainless steel tubing used in refrigeration system for food processing. Okay, make sure you when you work on equipment on the restaurant, keep an eye on it. That this stainless steel tubing for food processing. Okay, milk handling system used for food processing and a milk handling system. And then the plastic tubing, another one, used for waste drain, condensation drains, and water supply. PE, they call it PE for polyethylene. Okay, used for water supply, supply for water cool the condenser, water fountains, ice machine. That's the place they're being used. PE is not used with hot water supply. Temperature range between -110 degrees Fahrenheit to 175 degrees Fahrenheit. Flexible, can be cut with a knife. Normally attached to fittings by hose clamp or plastic compression fittings. Remember that. Hose clamp or plastic compression fittings. And then cutting, handheld tubing cutting. That means we're gonna cut the tubing. Most common with copper, handheld tubing cutter. Most common with copper and aluminum. May be obtained in different sizes. Model to cut 1/8 of an inch outside diameter to 4.25 inch outside diameter. Position cutters on tube at the proper cutting point. Tightening the knob forces cutting wheel against the tube. Rotate cutting while putting pressure on the tubing by turning the knob on the cutter. Another way to cut tubing or pipe is by using a hacksaw. That's another way of cutting it, by the hacksaw. Not desirable to use on soft copper and aluminum. Used mostly on steel or wrought iron pipe. A large diameter, hard drawn copper. Fissure tubing or pipe is cut squarely. Sewing fixture may be used to accomplish this. Okay. Keep saw fittings from falling inside the tubing or knife or pipe. Be sure to debar the tubing. Okay, the bar, that means you use the extra material at the end of what you cut. Be sure to bar the tubing or piping inside and out. And then we gotta talk about bending the tubing. Okay, bending is done when soft rolled copper tubing is used. More convenience and economical than using fittings. Rule of thumb: the minimum bending radius a tube can bend is between 5 and 10 times the tube diameter. Remember that. 5 and 10 times the outside diameter. Larger tubing may be 10 times. Okay. Smaller tubing can be done by hand without any special equipment. Usually performance in domestic work. Gradually work the tubing into shape. Never try to make a direct bend as small as the final radius desired. Okay, you got the spring type tubing bender as available. Help keep tubing from collapsing. Relatively inexpensive. Comes in the most common type sizes. Okay. Those are the simplest one, the tube bender that we can use for small sizes. We're gonna continue on bending lever type tube benders. Most reliable method of tube bending. Will bend soft tubing accurately. Use rollers and forming wheels to bend tubing without kinking it. Also used to bend steel tubing. Okay, now we're gonna discuss about the method of joining tubing. The method of joining tubing, we got the right here, we got the mechanical coupling. Okay, we got mechanical coupling, semi-permanent. Okay, they can be mechanically disassembled. Flared fittings, okay, widely used when join copper or thin-walled steel tubing. Must use flaring tools. generally a 45-degree angle in refrigeration or copper. Okay, properly made player are very important for a good seal. And then we got the single player. Single player is a single wall player, not as strong as double wall player. Accomplished by using playering tools. Do not over torque the player. Okay. Double player. Double player, double player, double wall player. Strong and durable. Must use special double player adapter and playering tools. Do not over torque the player. Okay. We're gonna continue on with mechanical coupling. Now we're gonna talk about flared fittings. Flared fittings needed to accommodate many types of flare tubings. Various of elbows, T's, and unions. Flares nuts are SAA, just like SAA, Society of Automotive Engineers, pine threads. Pine thread. Some fittings such as flare, hub, union are made to join to national pine threads. Be sure to use the right tools for tightening the fittings. That is line wrench. That's flare nut wrench. Make sure you put the right torque into it or else you're gonna break it. Always use a backing wrench when tightening for mechanical fittings. And then you got the compression fittings. Compression fittings used mostly for gas valves. Not recommended for refrigeration line. Gas tight seals are obtained by connecting the tubing to couplers, coupler nuts, and crimping tool collar. Okay, available in sizes of 1/4 inch to 1 1/8 outside diameter. May leak if wrong tools are used. For water or air or natural gas, make sure, be careful when you put this system together. Make sure when you install it and before you energize the natural gas, make sure it is turned right. Because if it's not right and you turn the natural gas and then you got some heat or fire outside, then you're gonna get a big explosion. Flare nut, wrench not recommended for compression fittings. Okay. And then now we're gonna talk about the heat bonding. We do heat bonding by soldering or bracing. Using solder that melts at temperature lower than the metal. When melted, solder flows between the two metals. Differences between soldering and bracing is the temperature at which the molten solder flows. Welding differs from solders or bracing. It does not use another metal to act as a bonding material. The two pieces of metal to be welded must be puddled. When cooled, the two pieces are part of one another. And then you got for heat bonding, we got the soft solder. That is 95 to 5, containing 95% tin and 5% antimony. It starts to melt at 430 degrees Fahrenheit, fully liquid at 535 degrees Fahrenheit. Recommended soft solder to use on refrigeration work handheld propane or acetylene torch can be used. Okay? Must use plugs designs for 95-5. Must clean fittings with emery cloth, Scotch Brite, chemical method. Okay. Hard solder. The next one is a hard solder. Bracing high temperature silver solder. Hard solder joints make a strong bond. Hard solders is commonly called silver brace alloy, required by some building code. Okay. Use the air conditioning and refrigeration industry. Use in the air conditioning and refrigeration industry. Also, the solder will flow at temperature of 1190 degrees to 1475 degrees. Copper melts at 1981 degrees Fahrenheit. And then we'll be talking about hard soldering. Hard soldering is bracing. Continue on to the last part. Silver solder is safe to use when joining copper, tubing, and fittings. When done correctly, silver solder will be stronger than the metal it is joining together. There are several types of silver soldering. Amount of silvers to solder affected what type of metal is being soldered. High temperature silver solder can be applied with anti-acetylene or air propane torches on small tubing. Oxygen acetylene torch is the most common use. And then we're going to talk about next is silver soldering low temperature. Must be plugs designed for low temperature silver solder. Must clean connection as done with 95-5 solder sold in troy ounces. Used to bond different metals, copper to brass, brass to steel. Flows at temperature between 1145 degrees Fahrenheit and 1430 degrees Fahrenheit. Soap fitting, and then we call it sweat fittings, used with hard or soft soldering. Many different types of sweat fittings are available. Fittings are made of brass rod, brass forging, wrought copper, should fit snug over the lower tubing size. There should be only a thin solder clearance. Okay? And then the next one we're gonna talk about is about swaging copper tubing. Swaging allows the assembly of two copper tubes to be attached together without the use of sweat fittings. Allow only one solder joint. Accomplished with swaging tools used to flaring block holds the tube. Swaging punch is inserted into the tubing, cause the tubing to swell. When done correctly, there are less solder joints, less leak hazard, will take longer than using sweat fittings. And then the purpose. Soldering and bracing. We talk the soldering and bracing. The purpose of this is to produce strong leak-tight joints. Attach copper tubing and fittings to each other. 4 steps of preparation. Cutting and fitting the pipe. First, you cut the tube to a proper length. And then be sure both ends are square. Remove the bars with a trimmer. Be sure the fittings or tube add the proper fit. And then cleaning the tubing and fittings. The 4 steps of preparation continuation. Clearing the tubing and fittings. Surfaces to be joined must be free of oil, grease, rust, and oxide. Clean with cleaning solvent. If real bad, use wire brush or pine sand cloth. Do not use steel wool. Use emery cloth, sand cloth. Do not handle surfaces after cleaning. Cleaning should be done just before soldering to all oxidation to a minimum. And then the next one we talk about is the four steps of preparation. We're gonna first proper fluxing. Flux does not clean the metal. It keeps the metal clean. Available in both paste or liquid form. Plastic is the most popular. Select the proper flux for the job. Stir flux before using. Chemical settles to the bottom. Apply flux with brush. Do not use your finger. Insert 2 parts way into the fittings. Brush paste flux all around the tube and outside of fittings. Insert the tube to pull depth. Rotate the tube or fittings, if possible, to spread the flux uniformly. Okay? And then the 4 steps of proper preparation continuation. Note, too much flux can be harmful to the internal components and operation of the refrigeration system. With the temperature silver bracing alloys, copper to copper bracing can be done without flux. On copper tubing to brass tubing, flux is always required. Remember that. On copper tube and brass tubing, flux is always required. Supporting assembly. Before soldering or bracing, the assembly should be carefully aligned and adequately supported. Arrange supports so the expansion and contraction will not be restricted. See that no strain is placed on the joint during bracing and cooling. Heating and flowing soft solder 95-5. Applying the flame to the solder of the fittings. Heat will flow in the direction of the tube. Remember that. It will flow in the direction of the tube. Do not allow the flame to enter directly into the opening. With an elbow or T, hit the heaviest part first, then move towards opening. Heat will be distributed evenly to both fittings and the tube. Okay? Heating and blowing soft solder continued. Occasionally remove planes and touch the joint with solder. If metal is hot enough, the solder will melt. When applying soft solder, never push the solder into the joint. If hot enough, solder will be drawn into the opening. Remember that. Once the tube is really hot, and then just put the solder there, and then the solder will melt itself. And then it will go inside the gap between the two material being brazed. Or when a right of solder appears all around the joint, joints is finished strong and leak tight. When working with fittings larger than 2 inches, it is a good idea to use 2 torches or a Y-shaped torch tip. This helps to give even distribution of heat. Also, as you are soldering, tap the fitting lightly with a hammer to set the joint and release any trip gases. Heating and blowing low temperature silver solder. This is another type. For silver soldering, a soft bulbous oxyacetylene flame provide the best type of heat. Okay. Aeracetylene or air propane torches are sometimes used for silver brazing and silver solder fittings or tubing up to 1 inch size. Adjust the oxyacetylene for slightly reducing less oxygen flame. Okay? And then heating and blowing low pressure silver solder. Continued. Heat tube 1.5 inch to 1 inch away from the end of the fittings. Heat evenly all the way around the tube. When the plugs on the tube adjacent to the joints is melted to a clear liquid, transfer heat to the fittings. Move the flame back and forth. Stretch from fittings to tube. Keep flame pointed towards the tube. Keep the flame up the base of the fittings as much as possible. When plugs is a clear liquid on both fittings and the tube, pull the flame away. Apply silver solder against the fitting and the tube. If heated correctly, silver solder will flow freely into the joint. Cleaning after brazing. Okay, when you get done brazing, do not quench. Do not dip it into the water. Allow to air cool until brazing alloy is set. Apply wet brush or swab to the joint to cracks and wash off the plugs. All plugs, must be removed before inspection and pressure testing. Use a wire brush if necessary. That means you gotta clean the plugs Then you gotta talk about safety hints for soldering and brazing. Never attempt to repair a system that is under pressure or vacuum. Many fluxes contain chloride or fluoride. Handle with care to prevent excessive contact with skin or inhaling the fumes. Some silver solders contain cadmium in varying degrees. Cadmium fumes are very poisonous. Be sure work area is well ventilated, and then you use a safety glasses. And then the last one we'll be talking about is the bracing equipment. Bracing equipment, we can use air acetylene or air propane torches or MAP gas. Used to soldering 95-15 low temperature silver solder bracing. Bracing is small size tubing. And then with the other one, oxyacetylene torches, used when excessive silver soldering bracing is needed. Efficient use of oxyacetylene equipment depends on a constant metered flow of oxygen acetylene in the correct proportion. That means before you start this, make sure you got the right pressure on your gauges for the acetylene and the oxygen, and then you gotta watch the flame. Make sure the size or the appearance of the flame is right. That will indicate the proper balance of the oxygen and acetylene gas. As an oxygen tank and an acetylene tank. 2 gauges per tank with regular tank pressure. Pressure being harnessed to the torch. The required torch pressure varies with the equipment and job being performed. Okay, that's all the lecture that I presented to you. I hope so you're gonna learn more the way I present this lecture. I know it's fast, but because the time is limited on the YouTube, but try hard and try to understand what's the lecture behind this. Try to go back to the video back and forth. Again, I'll thank you for watching my video. This is just for training purposes, and again, I thank you. Well, I recommend that I know we got a lot of good and professional HVAC technician and engineers out there that put a lot of video on YouTube. That I recommend that too, that you can go to some of their video about bracing and joining metals for air conditioning and refrigeration, and so you can explore more of what I have explained and give information that I gave to this lecture. Again, thank you very much. Bye.